weekend particles, a little bit of closure maybe on some of these projects. These zine projects from abstract intuitive paintings, completed in a very improvisational style, spontaneous in fact. Like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do when I'm turning on the camera and I forget to turn the music off or something like that. Or I leave in, I don't know, stuff yapping, which is what I'll do now. So this is one of the pieces. I think I showed a little bit of process photography of this on Blue Sky. So this is a Strathmore 400 mixed media paper, 18 by 24 sheet. So I placed copier paper between some of these sheets because there's glue. I went back and applied, oh good, maybe I can get that glisten, one of my gold paints to this painting. And that is from one of my hand cut stencils that I did on like a half sheet of plastic file divider, loose leaf file divider. And it's been, I thought it wouldn't last very long, it was so thin, but the paint just piles up, the acrylic paint that I use with stencils at times almost strengthened it. This is another one that shows up. This is another one. One day I was sick and I was in front of the TV recuperating from injury and illness at the same time, and I managed to like do these stencils. So I have a lot of stencils that I've purchased too, and amazing ones by amazing creative people. That's like, stencils are one way that artists get paid. Stencil design. One way. And not all of them, obviously, but some of them are AI, you know, but, or copies. Anyway, these I made. They're mine. My design. I used a grid. So, and I can actually tell that this is a very thick paper. It's a cellulose paper, but again, it's been humid here and I use a lot of water in these. I used a lot of water in these. So this one actually might go back under the books just for a little bit because there's no rush, but I see that it's buckling and curling a bit. But what happens is, the reason I'm using glue is it sort of is merging the two pages together under the books, under the weight, and so that it becomes even thicker. And then trim up the edges. Get my hand out of the way. And my little corner rounder punch, which is very loud. And I notice, I really like this paper. And you notice, like, you know, I applied all the stencils the same direction, but of course we do the strategic folding. And it's just, it's so delightful. Surprise. I'm glad I had some, and I'll use these scrap papers for other things, but I'm glad I had some copy paper in between to absorb some of this moisture. Make sure these paints, if they were still at all moist enough to reactivate, that they didn't on each other. Oh, there's one where I changed the direction. So yeah, I don't know what direction I was going. That's such a evergreen statement. I don't know what direction I was going. So I just, you know, one more time. The shiny, glistening gold, sometimes just for fun. What is it? What is it for? What does it mean? I don't know. Right yet. I do know I learned things. I do know I enjoyed it. And I do know it makes me happy to look at it. And I do know I think it's pretty. And I didn't know what I was going to get when I started. It could also go that way. I kind of just like it this way. Another one. I have a bunch of these handy plywood scraps, real wood, old plywood scraps that I found in our basement that were actually dry because they were up off the ground, up off the basement floor. And I use them for all kinds of things. Here you can see, because I'll stretch papers on it. It's called paper stretching. I'll stretch paper and I'll use, like, the tape will build up. But I can also use it for a little extra, because it's humid and I use so much water, clearly I have a heavy hand. I'm heavy-handed with my water, which I'm happy with, and that's part of my flow state. Is you know, I'm using these wonderful art books I've collected over the years. I've been currently weeding books out of my collection, getting some new ones, but also weeding some old ones out. So if you need any dystopian science fiction, let me know. Getting rid of that Philip K. Dick type collection I used to enjoy. I just, no shade, I love it. It's brilliant. I don't need it in my house. PKD. So this is a very porous wooden, you know, it's wood, it's porous, it breathes, you know, more so than plastic. So I wanted a little more protection for my books. So I put, yes, I used sort of a bookbinding idea in these little zines. I can actually feel it might still actually need a little more time now that it's getting a chance to breathe. So they were, this project, these were, I have a shelf of heavy coffee table books I've collected over the years or been gifted, and I don't tend to look through them these days, but I do, well, sometimes I do, but more so use them for their weight. And so that, but that plywood sort of protects. So, you know, I can do a few projects. There's only so much space on the shelf, so I can do a few projects. And that's what I did. I think I had 3 drying in there. And here is, ooh, here is another project from, this one will show off those stencils even a little bit more. I used paint, watercolor paint through them. So this is a Canson Montval cold press watercolor paper. It's a cellulose watercolor paper. It's very good, from an 18 by 24 sheet. Another one, I think I posted the original 18 by 24 abstract intuitive painting. So, but this is another one that I added some sparkle to argent. No, is it argent? Oh no, that's money. But it comes from, that word comes from gold. Somewhere along the line, we all decided it was going to be gold, right? I mean, I was talking with a dear artist friend, a dear friend, the other day. You know, it was like, wait a sec, you know, sometimes I like silver. Why, you know, gold, why is that first place? And money, why is silver second place or whatever? Because, you know, and I mean, it's a question without an answer, really. Because, or with many answers, because maybe sometimes I want to put silver or gold on my art, and I'm not trying to express a pre-existing condition about a place, like an award or a medal, but it's there, right, in our heads at times. But I think this is a first prize anyway, so, you know. I'll just take those out. Went back and did the corners, little corner punch. It's like a hole punch, but it'll punch a corner, and there's different sizes to it. But look how it neatens it up, tidies it up. This came out of the first pressing. Pretty uneven, and evened up the edges. I'm so happy with how it turned out. You can see, like, some of it was very splotchy, improvisational painting. Some of it I went back in and, you know, I don't think about it too long. I just started adding stencils. Colors started mixing on the page, forming these violets and purples. And I'm okay with that. I sort of knew that was coming. Just going crazy with this one. Can also do it this way. And each new page is an opportunity to see something new color play, new paint play, things that mean things to me. Things that make me happy. You know, I was thinking yesterday too, I often do this orientation with sketchbooks, but I hadn't thought to open it like this yet. It's just interesting. I wonder if I would like it like that. Because really, you know, that we can do it. I might have to indicate that, like if I intended that, you know, put a stamp on the back or a title or something, some typeface in there. But yeah, I hadn't thought of that until yesterday. So that's kind of cool thing about doing these things and then watching myself on the camera. I do learn things. One more. We'll see if we feel like working on this one. I haven't given myself enough room. Again, some plywood that I use for different purposes, but it definitely protects my books and gives a little air to this drawing process while also being able to squish it, and protects my books, I think, a little bit. And this was the bamboo. This one's still in progress. This was the bamboo paper. So like a 12 by 16-ish. And so, I mean, delightful. Again, it was a, you know, it was a flat painting. Some strategic folds in one cut, and some glue on the back, and some abracadabra under the books. And we have this pretty little, it's kind of summery to me. I like all this pink. You can see where, I'm new to using this paper for this, but I can see where this kind of, it's very, it got a little precious here in the crease. I was abusing it, trying to figure out how I was going to fold it, but a little bit of chipped paint. Oh well, so what? So I'm gonna just, I guess I'll just trim this up on camera. Little closure. But yeah, these papers are so fun to work with. But, you know, I could just as easily use copier paper and markers and pencils and crayons. My little, see how that, let me try to show that. Maybe this is a better backdrop in my hand. See how it retracts so it's safer. And then, oh, it's got blue paint that's splashed all over. And so then I can advance it, and I can clip off each point as it gets dull, which it does happen with these thicker papers. So that's just, oh, I love that. All right. That might be, maybe everyone knew about that, but I didn't. And so I'm grateful for DAS bookbinding in Australia, I believe. Okay. I'm actually gonna try to preserve as much as of this little booklet as I can, but it needs to have some of the edges taken off, so, or neatened up, I should say, so it can be a finished, complete project, or at least finished and complete up to the point where I can get it today. All right, and another thing I didn't say, so I try to line it up this way and hold tight and breathe. One thing I didn't say before is you actually aren't pressing overly, like you're not pressing all your weight down on this. Although I tend to press down because I don't want it to bounce up on my fingers on me. So it's gentle, so it's just repeat the strokes. Repeat these cuts along the edge of the ruler, and they start to release. I'm not really pressing that hard. I don't want to hurt my shoulders. I don't want to, like, you know, throw anything out, because that, yeah, that happens in your 50s, one's 50s. My, okay, I can see where I bounced up over the, this one I might need to redo. Let's see. Yeah. We'll see how, but see, like, you know, I could keep going, and then there's no book left at the end of it. It's like I have to kind of call it. And what I'm gonna do is I think my instinct is telling me it's time to remove one of these parts of the blade segments. So here's how I do it, because I think it could have been a better cut, and I think it could have been sharper. It's very, so a little pair of needle nose right here. Bing. Save that for taping it up and disposing of properly. I actually try this. I don't know if it's so bad to have a little uneven cut there. I don't know. I mean, it's made by human hands, mine, and they don't always get it absolutely straight and perfect. In fact, the mat I'm using is on a curve because the desk I'm using is from like around the 1930s. It's an old civil servant's office desk that a friend of mine gave me, like probably over 20 years ago, and it was needing to be dehumidified at that point. So I've got unevenness that I just live with. So I try to achieve somewhere in my art practice out of like just necessity for myself, but it's not always possible to do it perfectly, and I wouldn't want to discard something beautiful because I didn't have the perfect line on it or edge. All right, this is, see, there's like, it's hard to see on camera, but there's a whole entire world here of curvature. Just try to be. This is a part of the project that I would say, I don't exactly know age groups of activities anymore. And, you know, I'm not a professional in any way, shape, or form. I'm a professional at me. But, you know, that's, so, but I would say know who you're working with if you're doing this type of activity, because I do think, I mean, I've done this camping and different activities with in different settings, and it's always, it really does, it, I don't know, tends to be a success, tends to be. So, but know your person about, you know, knives, know yourself about knives and scissors. You could easily just leave these edges and it's still beautiful. You could use the scissors, you can use a, like I showed, a safety ruler in a previous video if you wanted to. And something that I never really knew, I guess I knew it and it makes sense, but it wasn't really driven home in my experience, was the importance of sharp blades. It seems counterintuitive, but nice sharp blades mean more success. It's when they start to get dull that they bounce over, you know, something in here, or some piece of paint, and they bounce up onto my thumb, which hopefully I didn't just put that into action. Then you'll never see this video. Let's see. You see how I'm sort of, you know, a little booklet. And some rough edges. You can see my make sure I didn't do this before. Make sure I retract that blade. That's one of the whole points of it. These little scraps can go in recycling, but look, there's not a lot. I think I could work a little more on the edge if I wanted to, but I find that, again, then that starts to not be fun. And really, this is supposed to be enjoyable for me to regard, and so far is. I enjoyed painting it. Had a lot of that this weekend, actually, so far. But yeah, I can probably, oh, look at this. There we go. So I can see this little bing, little imperfection. It'd be hard to see I can round out these corners and it'll tidy that up a little bit. Also, I'm learning to say, like, who cares? It's still pretty and I still love it. Hanamule bamboo. Has some cotton, but mostly bamboo. They call it their bamboo paper. 125 pound, 265 gram per meter squared. Zine from Abstract Intuitive Painting on a 12 by 16 sheet. I'll put this down so I can take a look. One last look. And then I'll have to turn the camera off and it'll be fantastic, awesome, and wonderful, and creative, and productive, and nice, and all of the things I'm supposed to be. Genuinely. Wow. I will say about this paper, it feels good in the hand. Zuh. I think this was painted by my left hand, if I recall. I do that very mindfully. If you look at this channel or listen to me yap, I do this very mindfully. But it's becoming also just part of things that I do it. Like trade off or just do this one, just do this. It's like they have different personalities or something at times. Not really, but I have found there's something through research, there's something to that. Right brain, left brain type of stuff. So, and I've also found that there's some myths around that. I sometimes kind of wonder, like, is it necessary? What if we had more time? Could we explore, you know, could children explore writing with two different, you know, both hands? Could we explore that as adults if we didn't get to the first time around? Can't go back and redo school, kindergarten or whatever. But I can start new things, and it kind of feels like teaching myself again. Anyway, there you go. Until next time. Bye bye.